chair of the education committee. I'm very pleased to be able to bring to all the programs a new tool, a tool that can be used individually by all the programs, considering that the pandemic has definitely significantly affected the education, the dental education, the clinical practice. Now we have the opportunity to use resources that we can share with each other, and having this opportunity gives us an extra advantage to be able to enhance the teaching within the programs and overcome all those challenges. So for this reason, there have been 4 different modules that were designed. 3 were for the postdoctoral level and 1 for the pre-doc level. And these modules were designed with the idea that will be included into the existing curricula and complement the programs across the different universities. So the topics of these modules were identified through different kind of surveys that were sent out to the periodontal educators in the past. And based on the results we got from those surveys, based on the needs of the different kind of programs, and along with the leadership of the education committee and volunteer periodontal educators, we were able to complete those modules, and now they're ready for implementation. So this evening, our goal is to be able to present to you, to give a brief presentation of these advanced education training topics. And these include, as I said, 3 modules. The topics are oral medicine, treating patients with disabilities, and practice management. Before I move on with that, I would like, first of all, to give special thanks to the TAPE Oral Healthcare, a sponsor for the AAP Education Access module. And today we have Heather Wang with us, who is, let me make sure I say your title correct, the Professional Relations Manager of the TAPE Oral Healthcare, who would like to say a few words. So Heather, welcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for everything that you do in the dental community. I'm a hygienist. I worked with a periodontist for 3 years of my 12-year career so far. So it's a lot of work to maintain, and I fell in love with the TAPE products. So that's how I got into this position. If you're ever interested, we have like different educational pamphlets and patient order forms. We create very simple but functional products to clean around implants, prosthesis, Alon for overdentures. So I can put a link here. If your university wants to sign up with a presentation, we can send everyone free samples as well that can include implant care kits, interdental brushes, and just a lot of different varieties. So TAPE Oral Healthcare is a Swedish company. Everything is produced in Sweden. We moved everything to bio-based plastic from sugarcane or pine oil. So they're really trying to move forward with the sustainability efforts as well. So again, I'll put my information in the chat and a link if you ever wanted your program to sign up for samples or a presentation, and I can go over clinical photos too. So thanks again, and thank you for everything you do in the dental community.
Excellent, thank you so much, Heather. So our module leaders will be able to give a brief presentation regarding the background of their topic, and also will explain further how we can use those modules within our programs. Everyone needs to remain muted during the presentation, and if you do have any questions for the module leaders, please save them for later so we can have a further discussion. So I'm going to start instead with Dr. Angela Palaiologou. I'm going to start with Dr. Alon Frydman, who wants to make sure he has enough time to cover his part. Okay. So Alon, you're all set to start.
Thank you. Yeah, so as part of the education committee, we had our various tasks, and looking at the topics, especially that of practice management, some of the material can be dry, some of the material can sort of be monotonous in some ways. So we thought about the format of delivering the information. We thought a discussion type of format would be best. So we used the podcast format, and we made a total of 4 different podcasts looking at various topics in practice management. Main topics included things such as liability and disability insurance, debt reconciliation, finance management prior to purchasing an office. And then with another one of our hosts, we looked at setting up an LLC, who's paying what overhead, contracts, how to manage staff assistance, and role of pay related to work. Third podcast looked at insurance decisions and setting up pricing. So that's signing up with insurance companies, international issues, as some of our residents are from outside of the country. What about licensing? What about liability? All kinds of various issues, and liability just in general as an umbrella topic. And then the fourth podcast was covering who you go to as who is your team when you're going to go and buy into a practice. You know, do you need a lawyer? Do you need an accountant? What does it mean to buy into a practice and practice growth and promotion? And then also, again, some insurance and coding issues. So one of the main impetuses or main reasons for doing this is that a lot of our programs either don't have time to teach about the money component of working, or don't have time to cover the specifics in relation to sort of getting that train started, because it takes a little while to organize all of your items. So considering that, we did this. Each one is in a.
All right, you want to come down?
There we go. Each one is in sort of what we call a long format. They're about 1 hour long, maybe a little bit more than that. It's a discussion between myself and each sort of content expert. We have an outline provided for each one. I don't know where we're going to host them, but for most people who are on the go now, or sitting on a train or sitting in traffic, the idea is listen to these podcasts when you have free time, and it'll get you sort of started on the topics that you need to think about when you graduate and you get out there. What is it that you need to start thinking about, have set up? What avenues need to go down? What should you investigate and learn more about? Because for a lot of our residents, they've never thought about the aspect of business and making money. So that's really what they're about.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Let me just share my screen and show to everyone where you can actually find the podcast. If you go to the perio.org website, under the tab Periodontal Education, you will be able to find on the right side the portion that says Practice Management Podcast. As soon as you click on that, you will be able to see the overview of this module or the podcast, and you're going to be able to click on each of those links that you can see here outlined, and you will be able to listen to those podcasts. For each one of them, you can actually find the learning objectives. You can actually see who was the person that was interviewed. And as Dr. Frydman mentioned, they last approximately for an hour, so everybody can have access to that and listen to them anytime they are free. Do we have any questions regarding that part? Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing then, and I'm gonna move on to, thank you so much, Alon. I'm gonna move on to Dr. Angela Palaiologou-Gallis from the University of San Antonio in Texas, who was the module leader for the topic oral medicine. So Tula.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Thank you. So first of all, I'd like to acknowledge the team members of my team, because they did a ton of work on that. So the people that worked on this were Margaret Hill, Joe Califano, Isabel Gay, Daniel Starr, Carrie Font, and we recruited Dr. Georgia Johnson due to her expertise in some aspects. Oral medicine is a very broad topic, so we spent a lot of time trying to focus on some topics that we felt might be more appropriate for postgrad education, and try to not repeat information that every program probably teaches as part of their curriculum. So we focused on some topics that we had information that people felt they don't get as much. One of those topics was orofacial pain. So Isabel Gay was the one that put together information on that. The format for our module was short PowerPoint presentations that focused on providing information and resources and not so much reviewing and repeating. So we started off the point of assuming that some information is already known, since this is aimed at postgraduate residents. So that was the topics that we're covering is, as I said, orofacial pain. We included one of our topics on COVID and how it has affected periodontal practice, and that was the majority of that work was done by Margaret Hill. We had 3 sections on smoking. One part was traditional smoking, tobacco smoking, and that's where Dr. Georgia Johnson put her expertise together. And again, since that's a topic that it's got a lot of literature on it, our focus was on what's more current and recent, not the classic stuff as much. Then we included vaping, where there's very little out there. So Joe Califano and I worked on that and try to get all the most recent resources, and cannabis use, which is something that we've encountered a lot of issues with with our extensive use, and Carrie Font was the one that worked on that. And medication induced osteonecrosis of the jaws, where Daniel Scar put together that section. So again, our focus was to provide additional information. So these PowerPoints are not all inclusive and more current, not classic stuff, but more recent. So our goal was that we will be able to update that as needed.
Did you want to share, well, just show us what what they might look like, and also where it can be found?
Yeah, you want me to share my screen?
Yeah, you can share it.
So you should be able to see.
Yeah.
So it's just like you saw before under periodontal education, education access, there is the oral medicine, and you can pull up our PowerPoints and you can actually download them. So if I downloaded, I don't know if you can see that part. Can you see the downloaded PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the one that Margaret Hill prepared. And we focused on providing at the end the resources that we used so that people can go to them for more information as needed. And again, we wanted to make them short so that somebody can review each topic in no more than 15, 20 minutes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, Tula. Do we have any questions for this module? Okay, so then we can move on to the last module for today. That was treating patients with disabilities. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. And give me a second here. So once again, I don't want to repeat the same things that Tula mentioned, but this is something that, again, you can find under the website, under periodontal education, under postdoctoral modules. If you download the PowerPoint, you're going to see here the group of people that we work together in order to be able to design this module. I have to thank all of them because they were amazing while we were preparing this kind of module, and I would like them to be introduced to you. Dr. Pinar Emerson Huja from Medical University of South Carolina, Dr. Namita Kandawolf, Assistant Professor at the University of Connecticut, Dr. Cheryl Lanning from VCU, Dr. Lina Palomo from NYU, Dr. John Petros Ingaglia from Case Western, Dr. Ahmed Notch from Loma Linda University, and Dr. Shejal Thacker from the University of Connecticut. Apart from these wonderful periodontal educators, we had the opportunity also to collaborate with Dr. Kimberly Espinoza, who is an assistant professor and director of the DCODE program at the University of Washington. And the DCODE program is one of the oldest programs in the country that they provide dental education for oral care for patients that they have disabilities. So she was able to guide us throughout the process of developing this kind of module, and she also approved the final product. So we were really happy that we had the opportunity to collaborate with her. As you can see, when we created this module, we took into consideration the CODA standard that says that the educational programs must provide instruction in the management of patients with disabilities at the level of understanding. So that was our goal. So we created this module in order to evaluate the overview terminology and the most common issues that we encounter when addressing the needs of this patient population, and also provide strategies and specific tactics that we can use to be able to provide the periodontal treatment to those patients, as well as their oral health maintenance. So the learning objectives were to define the patients with disabilities, identify the barriers, and list and discuss the strategies, as I mentioned before. When we created this module, we took into consideration that everybody learns differently. And for this reason, we wanted to incorporate different kinds of learning tools. So we definitely included reading materials, but we also included resources like websites, treatment guides for patients, treatment guides for care providers, and we also used demo videos that I find specifically very useful, because they pretty much put together all this information that you read or on a website, on the reading material, and gives you the full idea of what to expect. So the outline of this presentation includes 4 sections. We divided on patients with physical needs, patients with medical considerations in patients with special healthcare needs, developmental disabilities, and cognitive healthcare needs. So if I go on full screen here and I click, let's say, on the second link, it will immediately take me to the second section, where we describe specifically the conditions we are going to cover, like patients, they have, for example, cancer or traumatic brain injury, things that we don't necessarily see every day in our practice, and we don't necessarily know how to approach them. So here you can see the reading material. You can easily click on this link, and this link will take you immediately to a PDF folder, and I hope you're able to see that, where the PDF file includes a table with the summary of the most important mechanisms, systemic and dental manifestations for each one of those conditions. And as you scroll down, you will be able to find very specific information for each one of those conditions related to what you have to take into account prior to dental treatment, during dental treatment, and after dental treatment. The format of these PDF files is exactly the same for every section, so it's easier for people to follow. And if I go back to my presentation, we also included specific demo videos, as I mentioned before. All of them are available online on YouTube, but we made sure we came in contact with the official organizations that uploaded those videos, and we took their permission to use them. So for example, you can see that if you have a patient that has a traumatic brain injury and you click on the video, you have the option to go straight into the part of the video that talks about this kind of patients and gives you information about how you should greet the patient, how can the patient sit in the chair, what you have to be careful while you're treating the patient, what you should avoid, and so on. And there's another video, for example, for this section that includes tips for patients that they have eating disorders, how you should talk to patients, what kind of treatments you have to provide, what are the referral pathways you have to follow. And at the end of each one of those sections, you will definitely find the extra resources that I told you, like different type of websites, emails, phone numbers that either you as providers or the patient can use in order to get extra information, and of course promote their overall dental care. So this is the part of the presentation that I would like to share with you. I'm gonna stop sharing now, and I would like to know if there's anyone who has any questions for me for this module or any of the other modules. No questions. Okay, so that's what we wanted to present to you today. I think you will be able to find it useful. I would suggest that you go ahead, go to the website, try to take a look at those modules, see how they look like, download them, and we would definitely like to have your feedback on that. I would like to thank all of you for attending today. I would like also to give special thanks to Tepe Oral Healthcare, a sponsor, to the Education Committee, and all the volunteer educators that spend a significant amount of their time in order to bring about those modules. I would also like to remind you that we would love to see all of you at the next AAP meeting in Phoenix, Arizona, October 27th to October 30th. We have prepared an Educator Symposium, which is combined for the pre-doc and postdoctoral educators. This is open to all the educators, not necessarily only to the directors. And this is going to take place on Wednesday, October 26th. So please go ahead and register for that at am2022.perio.org. Unless you have any other questions, I would like to thank you once again on behalf of the Academy and wish you a good evening. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.